Hey there, welcome back. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is the Curiosity Compendium. Sometimes the most captivating stories aren't the ones we invent from scratch. They're the ones that live in that hazy borderland between truth and myth, waiting for someone brave enough, or maybe foolhardy enough, to go looking for them. Stories that whisper of forgotten places, of curses spoken in lost languages, of a jungle that swallows civilizations whole. And sometimes, those stories turn out to be terrifyingly, dangerously real. Today, we're diving into one of the great modern adventure mysteries, the lost city of the monkey god. A legend of a white stone city hidden in the impenetrable rainforests of Honduras, guarded by deadly snakes and a spirit that would punish any intruder with sickness and death. For over a century, it was just that, a campfire tale, a colonial fantasy, a line on a conquistador's map. Until the 21st century, when a team of scientists, armed with cutting-edge technology and old-fashioned courage, decided to find out if the myth had a heartbeat. The legend itself is potent. In the Mosquitia region of Honduras, indigenous stories spoke of La Ciudad Blanca, the White City, a place of immense wealth and spiritual power abandoned by its inhabitants. Later, Spanish chroniclers wrote of a city of the monkey god, a refuge from conquest. Explorers and would-be adventurers vanished into the jungle, chasing shadows. The dense, mountainous terrain, some of the most remote in Central America, kept the secret. It became an archaeological ghost, always just out of reach. But then, the story took a technological turn. In 2012, a LiDAR survey, that's like radar, but with lasers, was flown over the Mosquitia, and the jungle canopy, which had hidden everything for a millennium, became transparent. The digital maps revealed something astonishing, not just one city, but the evidence of a vast, unknown civilization. Man-made pyramids, plazas, canals, and terraces carved into the mountains. The myth had coordinates. What followed was a real-life expedition straight out of an Indiana Jones film, but with more bug spray and scientific protocols. In 2015, a team, supported by the Honduran government and National Geographic, hacked their way into the core of one of these LiDAR sites. And they found it, a city untouched by looters, frozen in time. They didn't call it the White City or the Monkey God's Lair. They gave it a more clinical name, T1 for Target 1. But the feeling was anything but clinical. They described a city of earthworks and pyramids, with a central plaza holding a cache of exquisite, untouched stone sculptures, jaguar effigies, vessels with vulture heads, and a particularly striking one, a half-man, half-jaguar figure, perhaps a shaman in transformation, which they nicknamed the Jaguar. This wasn't just a settlement, it was a sophisticated ceremonial center dating back to a pre-Columbian culture we knew nothing about. The myth was real. They had found a lost city. But then, the other part of the legend woke up. The curse. You see, the Mosquitia isn't just remote. It's a profoundly hostile environment. And I don't just mean the snakes. This is a realm ruled by insects. Shortly after returning from the site, several members of the expedition, including the writer Douglas Preston, who chronicled the journey, began to develop strange, horrific sores on their skin. The diagnosis was leishmaniasis, a parasitic disease spread by the bite of the tiny sandfly. It's brutal. It eats away at flesh and cartilage. The local name for it is the white leprosy. The treatment is months of toxic, archaic drugs with severe side effects. And for some, the disease can become a lifelong, relapsing nightmare. The media, of course, ran with it. The curse of the monkey god strikes explorers. It was an irresistible headline. But here's where we move from sensationalism to a deeper, more unsettling truth. The so-called curse wasn't supernatural. It was ecological. The team had intruded into a disease hotspot, a place where the jungle's natural defenses had been perfectly calibrated over millennia. By disturbing that environment, they exposed themselves to pathogens that had been cycling there, undisturbed, for centuries. In a very real sense, the curse was the jungle itself, protecting its secrets not with magic, but with biology. This, to me, is the most profound layer of the entire story. The ancient people who lived there likely understood this balance, or they developed some level of immunity. Their abandonment of the city might be tied to environmental change, to the very ecological pressures that made the region so dangerous for outsiders. The curse is a metaphor for the consequences of disturbing fragile, ancient systems, whether those systems are cultural, archaeological, or viral. Sitting here in New York, worlds away from the Honduran rainforest, this story resonates with me on a personal level. As an engineer and entrepreneur, I'm drawn to the LiDAR solution, the elegant use of technology to solve a centuries-old mystery. It's a triumph of human ingenuity. But as a storyteller, I'm humbled by what happened next. Because the technology could only take them so far. It gave them a map, but to find the truth, they had to walk into the dark, into the mud, into the path of the sandflies. And then, they had to face the consequences of that discovery, both the glorious and the gruesome. It's a powerful reminder that every answer unlocks new questions, and every adventure carries an inherent cost. So, what's the takeaway from the lost city of the monkey god? It's that our world still holds profound mysteries, but they are not gifts. They are responsibilities. The real discovery isn't just finding a pile of stones in the jungle. It's understanding what that city represents, a lost chapter of the human story, and protecting it. And it's acknowledging that the jungle, the earth, the past, they have their own defenses. The greatest adventures of our time are no longer about simply finding lost treasure. They're about navigating the complex, often dangerous intersection of exploration, preservation, and consequence. The myth was real, the city was real, and the curse, in its own terrifyingly biological way, was real too. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the borderlands of myth and science, I'd be so grateful if you'd share this episode with a curious friend. For more stories that explore the incredible, subscribe to the Curiosity Compendium wherever you get your podcasts. This is Ibnul J. Farabi from Light Not Studios. Thank you for listening, and stay curious.